This lesson is 2.3, converting between fractions and decimals. Our learning target is to convert between different forms of rational numbers. So if you have a decimal, how do you make that into a fraction? If you have a fraction, how do you make that into a decimal? And you'll be able to go back and forth. There's two really important vocabulary terms that we need to know. One is called a terminating decimal. That is a decimal that ends. Like if you have 1.5, that's 1.5. The 0.5 ends right there. So terminating decimals are nicer to work with because it's an exact amount. Now you also have something called a repeating decimal. It's a decimal that has a pattern that repeats. So if you have like 1/3 and you take 1 divided by 3, you're going to get 0.333333333, and it goes on forever. And so what you do is you take whatever number is repeating and you put a little line over it like that. And that little bar notation, it shows that that digit repeats forever. It's a repeating decimal. So it would be negative 1.3, and 3 goes on forever. Now you might have something like 0.151515. So what you're going to do is the one that repeats is the 1.5. So you put the line over the repeating, and then that's all you need, 0.15. And it tells you that that's a repeating decimal. That's 0.15, 15, 15, and on and on and on. Oops. Let's do some writing fractions and mixed numbers as decimals. So what you have here is you have a mixed number, a negative 2 and 1/4. So we're just going to write that in a new way. We're going to keep the same value of it. It's always going to be negative 2 1/4. But instead of having it as a mixed number, let's write it as a decimal. First thing I do is I convert that to an improper. So 4 times 2 plus 1 is 9. 9 over 4, which is a negative 9/4. And then the way I think about this is when you're doing it by hand, I think about this division like this, and the numerator, or whatever is the top number, the numerator, goes in that little kind of frame there. And then on the outside, or on the side, is the denominator. So numerator inside, denominator to the side. And so what you have is you have 9 divided by 4. Okay? And then you can see how they did it. How many times does 4 go into 9? It goes in there twice. So you get 8, you bring down your 1, then you drop this 0. You have 10. How many times does 4 go into 10? 2 times. That's 8. So then you subtract that. You have 20, or you have a 2. Then you bring down your 0. Now you have 20. And 4 goes into 25 times. And that exactly zeroes out. And there's nothing more to bring down. So it's a terminating decimal, 2.25. And because it started out as negative, it continues to be negative. And that's what you have. Those are the same values, just different ways to say it. Negative 2 1/4 equals negative 2.25. Now you could have the thing I like about the terminating decimal is that it's the exact amount. It's what you have, and you know that that's your value. Now you might have a repeating decimal, and you do the same thing. You put your numerator inside and your denominator to the side. And so in this one you had 5 divided by 11. And 11 doesn't go into 5, but so then you have to add your decimal and a bunch of zeros. You can add as many zeros as you want. Put the decimal up top. So now you have 50. How many times does 11 go into 50? Goes in there 4 times. 4 times 11 is 44. Subtract that, you get a 6. Bring down your 0. Now you have 60. Then 5 goes in there. When you subtract that, you get 50, or you get 5. And then you bring down your next 0, you get 50. How many times does 11 go into 50? 4 times. That's 60. And you can kind of see it will repeat on and on and on and on and on. So 5/11 is the same as 0.45 repeating. Now, whenever I have a repeating like that, if I need to do some sort of subtraction or addition or multiplication, I always use the fraction form, because I know with the fraction form I have the exact amount. 0.45, I can't, that could be off by just a smidge, depending on, because I can't write it forever. So, okay, let's practice some of these. I'm going to do some by hand, and I'm also going to show you with a calculator how I like to do this. Okay. The try-its. Give me some space here. Okay, so number 1 is a -6/5. I know that's going to be negative in the end, but if I want to do it by hand, I would go the numerator goes inside, denominator goes to the side. Oops. Denominator goes to the side. Okay. Now, how many times does 5 go into 6? It goes in 1 time. 5, 1. Now, I don't want just like 1 remainder 1 or 1 1/5. I want to get it in decimal form. So I can always do a decimal, add my 0, then I bring it down like this. How many times does 5 go into 10? 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. That's 0. I don't need to bring anything else down. So that would be -1.2. All right. Now let's do number 2, which is a -7 3/8. I'm going to change that into an improper. So 8 times 7 is 56, plus 3 is 59 over 8. And then I put my numerator inside, put my denominator to the side, and then I divide out. How many times does 8 go into 59? 7 times. That's 56. Subtract that, it gets me 3. Then I'm going to put a decimal, I'll just add a few zeros here. Don't know how many I need. Bring down my 0. How many times does 8 go into 30? 3. And that's 24. So I have a 6 left here. Then I bring down another 0. How many times does 8 go into 60? That would be 7 times. And 7 times 8 is 56. That gets me 4. I'm running out of space here. Bring down my next 0. How many times does 8 go into 40? 5 times, and that's 40. And thankfully, 40 minus 40 is 0. So I am done. It's a -7.375. All right. For 3 and 4, I'm going to show you how to do it with a calculator. And I'm going to try something here. I'm going to try and create a little video. Before I do my little video, I do want to do 3 and 4 because these are not terminating, they are repeating. So let's do -3/11. Okay, I put the numerator inside. So that's going to go in. And then I put my denominator to the side. Now, I know 11 can't go into 3, so I'm going to add just a bunch there. And then 11 goes into 30 2 times. 2 times 11 is 22. And I subtract that out, gets me 8. Bring down a 0. How many times does 11 go into 80? 7 times, that'd be 77. And then I bring that, there's 3. Interesting. Now I'm at 30 again. So I know that's 2. 2 times 11 is 22. Subtract that, gets me 8. I can kind of see there's a pattern starting here. And so it's going to be 0.27272727, and it'll go on forever. So my answer is a negative 0.27, and that's the repeating part. So that would be negative 3/11. This is the same as that. Okay, let's do 4. I'm going to get rid of this, and we will do 4. Negative 1 and 5 27ths. Make it into an improper. So 27 times 1 plus 5, 32 over 27. And then I put my numerator inside, my denominator to the side. How many times does 27 go into 32? It goes in there 1 time. Subtract 5. Now I'm going to add my decimals here. A bunch of zeros. Like that. How many times does 27 go into 50? Just 1 time. And then 27. So that becomes 323. So then I bring down my 0. How many times does 27 go into 230? 8 times. And 8 times 27, that is 216. When I subtract that, it gets me 2. That gets me 14. And so I'm going to bring down another 0. How many times does 27 go into 140? 5 times. 5 times 27 is 135. Subtract that out, gets me 5. Bring that down, 50. Now once I see something repeats here, I know because I had 50 right here, I'm just going to get 27, and I'm going to get the same. So then it's just going to keep going on forever. So I can kind of know that my answer is a negative 1.185 with the 185 repeating forever. All right, I'm going to try and do a little video here. I'm going to show you how to do these on a calculator. Now, you need to know how to do it long division like I just did with pencil, and put the numerator inside, denominator to the side, and how to do that. But once you know that, I'm okay with using a calculator here. So negative 6/5. So I start with the top number 6. I put that in, 6, and divided by 5. And that equals 1.2. It started out as a negative, so I know this is going to be a negative 1.2. And it doesn't go on forever. It's terminating. Okay. Now, with the next one, I could make it improper, or I could just keep it like this, and I go negative 7, and then all I have to do is type in 3 divided by 8. 3 divided by 8 equals 0.375. So then I know that negative 7 and 3/8 is negative 7.375. Now, if I wanted to make that into an improper, it would be 59 over 8. So now I just clear up my calculator, do 59 divided by 8 equals 7.375. And it started out negative, so it has to stay negative. Okay? Now, let's look at negative 3/11ths. So I'm going to take the 3, and I'm going to divide it by the 11. And I push equal. And you can see that there's a repeating part of it. So 0.27, 27, 27, 27, and a calculator can only go so far, so we know the 27's repeating. So that would be a negative 0.27, that repeats. Okay, now 1 and 5/27ths, I'm gonna take it into an improper. 27 times 1 plus 5 is 32, so I do 32 divided by 27, oopsie, 27 equals 1.185, the 185, and then you have another 185, and then it's just going to repeat and repeat and repeat. Okay, so that's what that is. And the way I know to put the top number in the calculator first is like, if I have 5/7, I think about this right here as divided by. So 5 divided by 7. Put the 5 in, push divide, 7, and you'll get your answer. All right, for number 17, I gave myself a little bit more space here. It says a red sprite is an electrical flash that occurs in Earth's upper atmosphere. And this shows the elevations of 4. What is the range of the elevation? So we got to find which is the highest, which is the lowest, and then find the difference between the highest and the lowest. So I'm going to make them all into decimals. Hopefully we don't have any repeating decimals. So I have, 50.6. And then if I take 13 divided by 25, that's going to be 50.52. Then we have 8 divided by 15. Oh, that is a repeating one. But I'm gonna have it as a repeating just for a second. Maybe it won't factor in. 50.53. 3, 3, 3. And that 3 repeats forever. Okay, and then we have 155 divided by 3. That gets me 51.666. That repeats forever. So I know that this is my greatest one. 155/3 is my highest, and my lowest would be 50.52. So 50 and 52, so 15, or 50 and 13/25 is the lowest. So now I just have to find the difference between those two. And I'm going to make 50 and 13/25 into a improper. So 25 divided by, or times 50 plus 13 equals 1263 over 25. And then I have 155/3. Now I need to get those into the same denominator. So I'm just going to go 75. Now this is going to get me some pretty big numbers, but that's okay. With a calculator, it's not bad. So 1,263 times 3 equals 3,789. And I have 3 times 25, so it'd be 155 times 25 equals 3,875. Now I just have to find the difference between these two. And so I take my the larger one, 3,875 minus 3789 gets me 86 over 75. Now, 86 over 75, I know it goes in there one time, and it leaves me with 11 over 75. 11 does not go into 75, so that's my answer. And I'm looking at it, it's in miles, so the difference or the range between the greatest and the least is 1 and 11/75 mile. If I would make that into a decimal, I would do 11 divided by 75, and it would give me 1.146 repeating. But I don't like the repeating. This one has a definite amount, 1 and 11/75. More accurate.